I firstly underline the benefits of sport as a tool for the social inclusion of migrants, being an effective trauma healer and a means of empowerment. Sport is an international and universal language, and it's a brilliant way to show how similar we all are.
Those involved in writing this report are living in a dream world. They are so hopelessly naive, so ignorant of reality that they should not be involved in politics and human rights because they are causing terrible damage with their fairy tales.
Frankly, it was racist hate speech against people who've made their homes in this continent in order to survive, to avoid...
When you're saying that you live in a war zone on Hungarian-Serbian border, welcome to Ukraine! I will show you war zone. I will show you real war zone. You should see it.
Szeretettel köszöntök mindenkit, nagyon érdekes helyen vagyok, most az Európai Parlamentben vagyok, az Európai Unió parlamentjének épületében, ugyanis ugye korábbi videóimban már elmondtam, hogy az Európa Tanács tagja vagyok, ez nem az Európai Unió szervezete. Itt azok az európai politikusok vannak, közöttük én is, mint a magyar delegáció tagja, akik azt az ideológiát gyártják, ami alapján aztán az Európai Unió parlamentje döntéseket hoznak, és mivel most éppen felújítják az Európa Tanács üléstermét, ezért átjöttünk ide a mellette lévő épületbe, az Európai Unió épületébe, az Európai Parlament üléstermében vitatkozunk most egész héten, és ugye itt vagyok, mint az Európa Tanács tagja rendszeresen minden plenáris ülésen, és most is felszólaltam abban a vitában, ahol már megint a migráció volt a téma, és hát egészen őrült elképzeléseket hallottunk itt, hogy milyen jó ugye a tömeges migráció, így kell megoldani Európa demográfiai problémáit, és például majd azok a migránsok Afrikából, Dél-Ázsiából, Közel-Keletről, akik jönnek folyamatosan Európába, ők majd úgy fognak integrálódni az európai társadalomba, hogy sportolókká válnak, és sportcsapatokat kell belőlük létrehozni. Ilyen eszement elképzelésekről vitatkoznak, és hát itt kavicsot, de inkább követ dobtam már megint az állóvízbe. Nézzék meg önök is, hogy milyen paprikás lett a hangulat a felszólalásom után, úgyhogy már megérte eljönnöm ide Strasbourgba, mert legalább, ha más nem is, de legalább én mondtam olyat ebben a vitában, amihez nem szoktak hozzá azok az európai politikusok, akik éppen tönkreteszik Európát.
I now call Madam Arpadurai, the rapporteur, to present the second report.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, I have the honor to present you my draft resolution on the social inclusion of migrants, refugees and internally displaced persons through sport. This is a very topical issue which aims at better integrating migrants, refugees and IDPs in host countries and communities. Migrants, refugees and IDPs face numerous challenges on their move all along their migration journey. They have suffered from trauma in their country of origin during the process of migration and when settling in the host country. Such trauma has a long-term impact on their mental health, and in the host countries, they often face an antisocial behavior, racism, discrimination, and hate speech. Sport can therefore be a fantastic catalyst for empowerment and feeling well both physically and psychologically. Why is sport such a unique opportunity for better integrating into society? In sport, individual, social, or cultural backgrounds do not matter. In sport, nobody asks athletes, and nobody should ask them about their religion, color of their skin, their hair, their native language, their political orientation, or other factors which seem to divide our societies much too often. Sport is an excellent way to communicate. For a child who came from faraway country and recently moved to a new neighborhood where he does not know anyone, where he probably has little or no command of local language, a football match with local children is probably the best way to break through the glass wall of being left an outsider. Sport is an international and universal language, and it's a brilliant way to show how similar we all are. I firstly underline the benefits of sport as a tool for the social inclusion of migrants, being an effective trauma healer and a means of empowerment. Sporting activities have a positive impact on physical well-being and often play a role of icebreaker for migrants, IDPs, and refugees participating in the linkage with the host community. My report also raises the difficult inclusion of specific categories of migrants, refugees, and IDPs, namely women, children, and LGBTIQ+ community members. The necessity to refer to male peers are factors that often explains this scarce participation of women in sport. I secondly analyze the barriers challenging the success of inclusive programs for migrants, having observed structural and socio-personal barriers. States are moreover invited to adopt or ensure the application of legislation prohibiting any forms of discrimination in sport due to nationality, gender, sexual orientation, ethnicity, language, or disabilities. Specific attention should be drawn to groups particularly exposed among migrants, refugees, and IDPs from whom structural and cultural barriers are harsher, namely vulnerable groups, women, children, LGBTIQ+ community members, or disabled migrants. Specific targeted actions should be developed to their intention for promoting their social inclusion on the receiving societies.
In the debate, I call next Mr. Laszlo Toskai. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to address the part of this report that focuses on the social integration of migrants through sport. This report has nothing to do with reality. Those involved in writing this report are living in a dream world. They are so hopelessly naive, so ignorant of reality that they should not be involved in politics and human rights because they are causing terrible damage with their fairy tales. Of course, you can put together a football team of hundreds of thousands of migrants consisting only of angels who can say that they have been accepted by society thanks to sports. It is also possible to raise the awareness of the European people to the increasing numbers of migrants, of even refugees playing in European sports teams, but that will not change the facts. As for sports, there have been a number of scandals in recent years involving sportsmen who have committed serious crimes, theft, robbery, assault, rape, and many of them come from first or second generation immigrant families. For example, Akraf Hakimi, born in Spain to Moroccan immigrant parents, was recently accused of rape. His case is just one of many where a sportsman of immigrant background has committed a crime. Unfortunately, there are more and more scandals, violence and crime linked to sports in Europe. It is naive to think that sport makes it easier for immigrants to integrate. At best, you can lie to people about it to reduce resistance against mass migration. I will show you the reality. I can invite you to my small town, Ásodhalom, where we live right next to the Hungarian-Serbian border, which is also the border of the European Union, and nowadays it is a war zone. Gangs of human traffickers and armed migrants are shooting machine guns, destroying our lives. Just as crime statistics have worsened everywhere where immigration has increased massively. Breaking into our countries illegally, led by human traffickers, criminals, is not a human right. It is a crime that is destroying Europe. We should not be organizing sports teams of migrants. We should be defending our borders and law and order. When are you finally going to wake up? Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next speaker is Mr. Jeremy Corbyn. You have the floor.
Hello. I couldn't disagree more with the speaker who's just addressed this assembly than I intend to do now. Frankly, it was racist hate speech against people who've made their homes in this continent in order to survive, to avoid human rights abuses and the effects of wars, and have made a massive contribution to our world, to our community and to our society. And I would like to take our Hungarian friend to my own community, where I'm proud to represent a constituency where there are 100 different languages spoken. There are people who've made their homes there who've come from all over the world. They're people who came as refugees. They're now our neighbours. They're our nurses. They're our doctors. They're our teachers. They're our engineers. As is the story across so many parts of Europe, where people who've made this massive contribution to our society have themselves come from enormous stress and enormous difficulty. We don't need hate speech at this time. We don't need condemnation of people who've been through the most horrific experiences. We need humanity and we need empathy about it. Only an hour ago, we stood in silence, in memory of the hundreds of people who died in that ship off the Greek coast. Why did they die? Why did they die? Was it not something to do with the collective policies of every European government that has tried to push back against desperate people seeking a place of safety? Those policies have created the market for the people traffickers and the people smugglers. We need safe routes for people to seek safety and asylum, and we need to recognise that our society depends on them, and that our policies, our economic policies, our foreign policies, and so much else actually have some bearing on the reasons why people seek asylum in the first place. There are 100 million refugees around the world. A minority of them are in Europe. The vast majority are being looked after in countries that don't have the resources, the wherewithal, or anything else to cope with it. So surely we need something better. And I commend the reports that are in front of us today, because they talk about integration, they talk about sport, they talk about the right of access to health care, which is so important for all asylum seekers and refugees. We're in a privileged position. We can get up and speak about these things. But those that are living in my country without recourse to public funds, living in poverty on the streets, having to beg to survive, in some cases going on for years, those are the people that have no voice. We must make sure that their voice is heard. These reports go some way towards bringing a sense of decency, a sense of humanity, and a sense of inclusion in this world to these people who've suffered so much. They don't deserve to be treated like this, and they don't deserve the kind of language that was thrown at them a few moments ago.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Mr. Alexi Goncharenko. Mr. Goncharenko, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I wanted to speak about other things, but I heard our Hungarian colleague, and I can't not to respond to it. Because when you're saying that you live in a war zone on Hungarian-Serbian border, welcome to Ukraine. I will show you war zone. I will show you real war zone. You should see it. The only prime minister in Europe which has not visited Ukraine is Prime Minister Orban. Take your prime minister and visit our country. I will show you the war zone. And I will show you why people sometimes in their life need to run away from a butchers who came to kill them. I will show you Bucha, Gostomel, Irpin. I will show you how it is to live like this. I will show my native Odessa, where just a week ago explosion was just 200 meters from my home, and my children were scared and crying on my hands. I will show you what is a war zone. And when you are saying that your enemies are migrants or refugees running from tyrants and butchers like Assad or Putin or others, no. Your enemies and our enemies are Putin himself, Assad himself, other people who made other human beings to run away, to leave their homes, that who are our enemies. And you should know this, because if you don't know this, are you really Europe? You said it is a border of European Union, but European Union is not just a word, it's not just a stars on the flag, it's the values, it's humanity. And I want to say, I want to say dziękuję bardzo to Polish people who accepted Ukrainian refugees, mulțumesc to Romanian, Moldovians, dziękuję to Czech people. I want to say danke schön to German, thank you to English people, aita to Estonian, paldies to Latvian, ačiū to Lithuanian, to everybody who saved the lives, and by this who showed that they are human, and that is so important. The most important task in our life is to be human. But it is the most difficult, but the most important task. So please be human. I want to address all of you. Please support those who are running from the war, Ukrainians or other people who just need this support and shelter. I understand that sometimes you can be used to what's going on in the world. Sometimes you can be tired from all of this. But believe me, there are places in the world which are much, much worse than Serbian-Hungarian border, as you told us. And when you are in such place, the only thing you need is another human who is standing shoulder to shoulder with you. Thank you very much.